Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are unraveling one of the most mind-bending cosmic mysteries that's hit modern physics in a long time. We're going to explore a peer-reviewed no-go theorem that doesn't just, tweak our understanding of the universe. It actually threatens to demolish the very foundation of what we call reality. So let's dive deep into the absolute edge of quantum mechanics together.
Okay, I want you to just think about this question for a second. If you see something happen, did it really happen for everyone? It sounds like a late-night philosophical debate, right? It's basically the ultimate cold open to a detective story where the victim is reality itself. We all take it for granted that if you look at a gauge and it points to a 1, then that 1 is just an objective fact of the universe. Anyone else looking at that exact same gauge is going to see a 1. But quantum physics has recently cornered scientists into this terrifying logical trap where that basic, everyday assumption might actually be completely false.
To even wrap our heads around this, we need to talk about a totally bizarre concept called a super measurement. Just imagine checking a thermometer. Simple enough. Now imagine a super advanced physicist comes along and perfectly measures you checking that thermometer. Normally, we tend to think physical states just kind of smoothly exist until we look at them, which causes them to collapse into a hard fact. But a super measurement? It treats your brain, your memory, your whole observation as just another physical system that hasn't collapsed yet. The physicist is essentially reading your memory as a reversible math equation. It's wild.
So let's dive right into this and meet the contenders. AOE versus FIQT. In this ultimate physics showdown, we've got two fundamental suspects. Our first suspect, which is really just our common sense baseline, is called AOE, or the absoluteness of observed events. Basically, this is the core belief that every observed event is an absolute single event. It's not relative to who is looking. If you make a measurement, that outcome becomes a permanent, non-negotiable fact of the universe. For all intents and purposes, this is the absolute bedrock of objective science. Then, in the other corner, our second suspect is FICT, or frame-independent quantum theory. This one assumes that the core rules of quantum mechanics, like the mathematical Born rule we use to calculate probabilities, apply perfectly even to macroscopic, everyday human observers. And crucially, thanks to Einstein's special relativity, it assumes these rules hold up perfectly in any reference frame. Whether you are standing completely still or flying past in a rocket at warp speed, you should calculate the exact same quantum probabilities.
Which brings us to the cosmic crime scene.
Now, to pit our two suspects against each other, we need an experiment. We've got 4 quantum detectives, Charlie and Daniela, making initial measurements on some entangled particles. And then later on, Alice and Bob step in to perform those super measurements on Charlie and Daniela. Now, the absolutely crucial thing to know here is that these agents are space-like separated. Actually, to put that more plainly, they are so incredibly far apart that light literally doesn't even have time to travel between them. Because of that extreme distance, relativity tells us that different observers will actually disagree on who measured what first.
So let's walk through the evidence, starting with the blue frame perspective. In this specific frame of reference, Charlie and Daniela perform their initial measurements at the exact same coordinate time. And using the rules of our quantum suspects, FIQT, we can mathematically calculate the probability of what they're going to see.
And the math here is absolute. The probability of Charlie and Daniela both observing a 1 outcome is exactly 0. It's mathematically impossible. So if we assume AOE, meaning we assume reality is absolute, we can write down an indisputable fact right now. Charlie and Daniela did not both observe a 1.
Let's move along and see how this builds when we shift to a different perspective, what we're calling the pink frame. Because of how relativity works, we can legally choose a reference frame where Alice performs her super measurement on Charlie at the exact same time Daniela makes her initial measurement. Remember, Alice is essentially treating Charlie's memory like an uncollapsed quantum state and undoing it.
Once again, we apply the quantum rules to calculate the probability of Alice seeing a minus outcome while Daniela sees a 0 outcome. And once again, the power of 0 strikes. FIQT dictates this probability is exactly 0. So boom! We add a second absolute fact to our ledger. This specific pair of observations never, ever takes place.
Moving right along, we shift the orange frame. This is essentially the exact mirror of the pink frame. In this perspective, Charlie makes his initial measurement at the exact same time Bob performs his super measurement on Daniela. We're just utilizing the freedom granted by special relativity to view the timeline of these events differently. And beautifully, the exact same mathematical rules apply. The calculated probability for Charlie seeing a 0 outcome while Bob sees a minus outcome, it's an absolute,
undeniable zero.
So, what does this all mean? The crucial point is how these three zeros weave together. If reality truly is absolute, if AOE is true, these overlapping restrictions create a totally flawless logical deduction. Because Charlie and Daniela can't both see one, and Alice and Daniela can't see their specific combo, and Charlie and Bob can't see their specific combo, it mathematically locks in the final outcome. Logic dictates that Alice and Bob can never both observe a minus outcome. Not ever. The probability must be zero.
And that sets us up perfectly for the quantum contradiction.
But hold on a second. We just used logic based on overlapping separate frames of reference. Let's actually go back to the scene of the crime, our original blue frame, and calculate the final supermeasurement directly. Using nothing but the core rules of quantum mechanics, we're looking at Alice and Bob performing their supermeasurements at the exact same time, treating everything, even Charlie and Daniela's memories, as one giant uncollapsed quantum equation. So what does fit predict for Alice and Bob both seeing that forbidden minus outcome?
1/12. Yeah, it's not zero. A probability of 1 in 12 means that it's not just possible, it's literally inevitable. If you run this exact experiment enough times, Alice and Bob will eventually both observe the minus outcome. The math completely guarantees it.
And this brilliantly illustrates the undeniable contradiction at the very heart of this theorem. I mean, 0 cannot equal 1/12. You literally can't have a universe where logic proves an event will absolutely never happen, while the most successful theory in all of physics guarantees it'll happen about 8.3% of the time. This means our core assumptions are fatally flawed. The theorem mathematically proves that absoluteness of observed events and frame-independent quantum theory cannot both be correct.
Which leaves us with a fractured reality.
We've completely stepped out of the math now and into some seriously mind-bending philosophical implications. There is no conservative, easy response here. Physicists are backed into a corner with an unavoidable choice. Option 1, we reject FIQT. That means admitting quantum mechanics doesn't apply to macroscopic observers, or we have to break Einstein's special relativity. Basically, a central pillar of physics false. Option 2, we reject AOE. We completely abandon the idea that there is a single, objective, shared reality.
The authors of the paper actually sum up the terrifying reality of that second option perfectly. They describe losing absolute events as embracing, quote, a world in which even our observations are somehow fragmented into worlds or perspectives or contexts, which cannot be glued back together to tell a unique and consistent story. Just let the gravity of that sink in for a second. The objective data of science itself could be inherently relative.
Which leaves us just sort of staring into the abyss of quantum mechanics. The science is solid, the contradiction is real, and the implications are completely staggering. It forces us to ask, if absolute reality is just an illusion, if facts are really just relational ghosts tied to a specific frame of reference, whose perspective are you living in right now? Think about that the next time you agree with someone about what you just saw. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning absolutely everything, and I'll see you next time.